Welcome, everyone, to the November 4th, 2025 council meeting. Prior to the open session, council met for a closed meeting. It was moved by Councillor McCann and seconded by Councillor Borneman that pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001 C25 is amended. Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a special meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, negotiations through a provincial land and development facilitator. That was carried when the meeting was held. Remind everyone that this meeting is live streamed and recorded and available on the internet. You can go to the Town of Parry Sound website at www.parrysound.ca. And at this time, I'd also like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the waterways traveled by the Métis of this region. Are there any additions or prioritization of the agenda? May I have a mover and seconder to approve the agenda? Councillor Keith and Councillor Ashford. All in favor of the agenda? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes? Councillor McDonald and Councillor McCann. That the minutes from the regular council meeting held October 21st, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any discussion or comments on those minutes? No? All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a few minutes to hold a public meeting to hear any interested persons with regard to a proposed consent application for a lot addition under Section 53 of the Planning Act. May I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Borneman and Councillor Keith. That we do now adjourn the regular meeting and declare the public meeting open. All in favor? That's carried. Ms. Johnson, can you explain how the public was notified of consent application B25-01 for Cassia Northern Creative Studio Incorporated at 31 Parry Sound Road?
Yes, Mayor McGarvey, notice was given by prepaid first-class mail to the required prescribed agencies and property owners within 60 meters and posted on the property. Notice was therefore considered to be provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you. Mr. Rand, could you please explain the purpose of the proposed consent application?
Thank you, Your Worship. The application was submitted in order to facilitate a lot addition, which would rectify an existing encroachment issue. If approved, the application would sever a 360 square meter piece of land from the subject lands at 31 Parry Sound Road to be added to the neighboring property to the east at 37 Parry Sound Road. And I would note that both the severed and retained lots would meet the intent of the town's official plan. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. In accordance with the Planning Act, Council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent. A person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Council Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound in respect of a proposed consent does not make written submissions to the Council before it provides or refuses to provide a provisional consent, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. So at this time, does anyone wish to speak in favor of the proposed application for consent? If so, please come forward and identify yourself by name and give your address. And I understand that there's no one online to speak to this. I'll ask one more time in case somebody comes rushing through the door. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the proposed application for consent? No. Okay. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to this proposed application for consent? One more time. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to this proposed application for consent? No. Mr. Rand, have there been any letters received as a result of this notice?
Comments were received by the town's finance department, which indicate that the property taxes are required to be up to date prior to any merger of the lands taking place. Comments were also received by the building department, which indicate that the lot addition would allow for the benefiting lands to have their own parking area, and the resultant retained lands would still meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw for setbacks and lot coverage. Further to the building department's zoning comment, planning staff would add that the retained and severed lands are zoned highway commercial and the benefiting lands are zoned residential second density. So this would result, the resultant lot to the east would be split zoned. While this situation is not ideal, it was noted that staff are of the opinion that a zoning amendment would not be required to facilitate the severance, as the portion of the land zoned highway commercial are not of a sufficient size that would facilitate standalone commercial development. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the application would meet the general intent of the town's zoning bylaw. No other comments have been received, and I would note that the staff report, there is a staff reporting recommendation for council's consideration later on in the council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rand. We have a mover and seconder, Councilor McCann and Councilor Boleski, that we do now declare the public meeting closed. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Any questions of staff? Councilor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I had a question for the operations department. As Mr. Cairns is not here, is Mr. Bonanza, or can somebody else answer anything for me? It's in respect to the fire hydrants.
Mr. Mayor, I'm available to answer some questions on this one. I guess I'll turn it over to Mr. Thompson.
Okay, I think it's a simple question. I've noticed other years, it seems to me that the fire hydrants were all checked, and because we know winter is just around the corner, and I know the weather reports, we have had a little tiny bit of snow already. Have they all been checked? Because I noticed like the lever on the fire hydrants is not up in case we have this horrendous storm. Can you advise of the status, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is a robust plan that Public Works uses for testing hydrants and flowing them on a regular basis and ensuring that they produce proper amounts of water. That includes then determining their flow rates. That's why you see hydrants painted, is that all works together, and Public Works does that every summer. With regards to the mass, those are installed in the fall every year. Unfortunately, I'm not able to say exactly when in the fall they are installed. It is important to the fire department. It is something I can follow up with the manager of water and get back to council, let them know when those will be installed. But those do get installed every fall, and it's an important feature as the snowbanks grow.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilor McCann?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I had a question for Mr. Kearns this evening, so maybe Chief Thompson can take this one. There concerns streetlights and up around the Bayview Ashwood Street area. There's one section that at night is very, very dark, and my wife and I were out for a walk the other night, and in addition to just making that part of the road safer, there was, I guess, a bit of a pothole or something that neither one of us saw. It was that dark, and she kind of tripped on it. So I wanted to explore the possibility of having a street light added on that particular section. And there's also on further in, I think it's on Ashwood, and then on Belvedere coming up from Wabick, some of the lights are there and they're functioning very well, but they're inhibited by all of the tree growth around them, and it really casts some shadows. So I'm concerned about lighting and safety in these areas, and can we look into that and see if we can improve that situation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, I don't have an in-depth knowledge of the street lights throughout the community and these particular issues. Well, I'm sure that Mr. Harrison, myself can bring this to Mr. Kern's attention, and that he will be able to respond back to council as a whole via email with regards to the issue.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Any further? Councillor Ashford? You got it.
Sorry, got it. A question for Chief Thompson. It being Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week and us going into winter and all the different things that are kind of going along with that, I was wondering if you could outline some of the safety precautions and things people should check with their carbon monoxide detectors in this week of the year.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Most certainly, it is Carbon Monoxide Prevention Month, and there are a few changes actually currently within the regulatory framework. If you have a fuel burning appliance within your house, you will need, I believe it's at the beginning of November, to have additional carbon monoxide detectors installed in your home. So if you have a natural gas furnace, you have an oil furnace, if you have a wood-fired furnace of any nature, so virtually I would suggest anything other than electrically powered heating equipment, you're going to need carbon monoxide detectors on every floor, as well as outside of each sleeping area. So every home is unique, and in some homes, there will be a floor that will have sleeping areas at both ends of it. In that case, you would have to have a carbon monoxide detector outside each sleeping area. So it may require 2 or 3 on a particular floor. Regardless of that, if you don't have any sleeping areas in on a particular floor, including your basement, you still need a carbon monoxide detector in those areas. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer. You don't smell it, you don't hear it, nothing is going to notify you, and all you're going to do is fall asleep and not wake up. And it's a extremely unfortunate situation that will occur, especially given that, quite frankly, carbon monoxide detectors are relatively inexpensive to install and to maintain. With regards to maintenance, they generally only last about 7 years. The majority of our calls with regards to carbon monoxide is because of faulty detectors. So everyone should be checking them too. If they're getting close to that 7-year time frame, change them up. And it protects your family. It will ensure that you're notified if there's something wrong. Because again, you simply do not know. There's no way for you to be able to know without having a carbon monoxide detector.
It's true. Councillor McCann?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Follow up then to that, Chief Thompson. 2 things. We kind of have a habit, and fortunately you don't have to do it too often, of actually writing the date on the unit before plugging it in. In some homes where the facilities or plug-in facilities or may not be that abundant, does it hurt whether this is plugged in a wall behind a couch? What's the ideal spot for plugging these things into the wall? I mean, it's probably an obvious question, but as I say, some people are limited with their receptacles.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't think that's an obvious question at all, and I would suggest that it's one of the more common questions we get as people inquire to us at the fire department in terms of where they should put carbon monoxide detectors. So it's important to understand the interaction between carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors. Many people have combination units in the sense that they will detect both. If that is the case, then they need to be placed where smoke is, and that's at the top of your rooms and away from the corners on the ceilings. Carbon monoxide is not so particular. It generally will dissipate evenly throughout the air in your home. So what I recommend to everyone is putting them close to whatever kind of an appliance is going to be producing carbon monoxide. Therefore, as it radiates from an appliance, it's going to get to the detector before it gets anywhere else in the room. If you have a gas range within your home, that produces carbon monoxide. There's no way around that, even when it's working perfectly well. And so in the on that particular floor, the kitchen, you may want to have a carbon monoxide in that particular area because that is where the production is going to occur. Same with your basement where your furnace might be, or wherever your hot water heater is, if it happens to be powered by natural gas. So that is the ideal location. However, if it is a combination unit, you need to locate it where the smoke detector is supposed to be located.
Good advice. Thank you.
Just so you're aware, you can buy battery operated ones with 10-year batteries, so you don't have to worry about changing the batteries all the time. I do have one question for staff, and maybe council can decide on this as well. There was an incident apparently behind the building center downtown on the fitness trail, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. And I'm wondering if we can put some cameras up, maybe one or two, in that particular area on the fitness trail behind there. It does end up being a bit of a party area at times, and certainly the property owner is very concerned about the occurrence that happened and if it would have gone into their property as well. So if we can put one or two and add those to the budget for this year, that would be appreciated. Chief Thompson, do you have anything you want to add?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's not unusual, specifically in that area of the fitness trail, to have small fires reported. In this case, there was a homeless individual and they were trying to stay warm. Unfortunately, that's not appropriate action. The fire department did attend and they did extinguish a very small campfire. Through to your comments about what can be done, I think there's a number of things that could actually be done, and we are actually having a downtown quality of experience meeting coming up where I think some of these issues would be talked about. I know one thing that Mr. Harris has suggested to us to consider is a better clearing so that that whole area is much more visible. And that would help deter any of those types of activities too. I know that Mr. Kearns, through streetlights, can now install cameras around those types of areas. Might also be a very appropriate way to go about it. So a number of initiatives can be discussed, and we can bring them forward to the budget deliberations.
Okay, that would be appreciated because those new cameras that they have that go in where the sensor is, absolutely amazing. Yeah. Yes, Councillor Ashford.
Just to add, there's seems to be one of our top graffiti areas too. Not as big of a issue, but two birds with one stone.
So that can be brought back to the budget. Okay, perfect. Councillor Borneman.
I was just gonna ask, I think, back at the waterfront meeting in the spring, we heard about issues at Mission Park. We hear about things periodically, sort of piecemeal here and there. I'm hoping somebody keeps a record of all of this. Maybe they can all be reviewed and investigated and costed out with respect to cameras in the budget, because we're never going to get to the end if we just kind of pick and choose meeting to meeting what we're doing.
No.
Like we need a
Yep.
plan to follow up with.
Yep, 100%. That would be a good idea. Anything further? Okay. Correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Mayor McGarvey, we have 5 items of correspondence. The first is from the Parry Sound Seniors Club in Parry Sound, with appreciation for the support, the financial support that the town has provided over the years, including the $5,000 grant this year, and looking forward to a similar review and award of $5,000 next year, if possible. The next item is from Dale Michaelis, a resident of Parry Sound. It's regarding development of the harbor area. Mr. Michaelis notes that he has had property that he wished to have developed. He advocates that the town take over Imperial Oil property and develop it for housing. That is ultimately, there are a number of things in the letter, but that's a key part. The next item is from a research coordinator at the Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital. And they are currently recruiting youth, parents, and housing stakeholders and decision-maker participants for one of the research studies called Lived Experiences of Accessible and Affordable Housing Among Children and Youth with Disabilities and Identifying Solutions. The research coordinator has asked, it originally was just in the GT area, but they have expanded this. And so is reaching out to Parry Sound area. So this information will be posted on our website and through social media. The next item is from Minister Rob Flack, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. He's reporting to councils that there are amendments to the Development Charges Act through Bill 17, which is the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act this year. He outlines a couple of the changes, so I'll read those. The bill amended the Development Charges Act to provide for payment of development charges for non-rental residential developments to be made in full at the earlier of the date an occupancy permit is issued and the date a development is first occupied. A second item is removed authority for municipalities to charge interest on any legislated DC deferral amounts, except to the extent such interest has accrued prior to these changes coming into force. And the last item is from Stephen Mall regarding the tennis courts. Mr. Mall made a deputation two council meetings ago, and this is a follow-up letter with a number of questions asking if there's a staff project lead, if the tennis club could be part of the process to review land inventory where future tennis courts might be located, if there's a timeline for report and recommendation, those sorts of questions. So this item has also been referred to staff for follow-up. And those are the items of correspondence.
Thank you. I don't see any deputations tonight, so reports, and we'll start with Councillor McDonald tonight.
Thank you, Worship. I don't have any council-related updates for this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Worship. I too will be quick. I haven't had a lot of meetings. I have toured the build project at Belvedere in last week. It seems to be progressing, and my co-counsel here, Mr. McCann, advises that they're making lots of racket. So I'm believing that the work is proceeding and accordingly inside. The concrete flooring outside has been poured and finished, and we're expecting steel on site in the very near future. And earlier today, with various members of council, I attended the raising of the poppy flag. I hope that folks recognize the importance of Remembrance Day and next Tuesday, get out and support a service if you're at all able. We often hear bad weather prohibits people from doing this. The people that we're honoring never got the opportunity to not serve in bad weather. So thank you.
That's right. Thank you. I'm wondering if they're just making noise to bother Councillor McCann.
Well, this
job. Councillor McCann.
Yeah, truth be known, actually, I do wear hearing aids, but only when I think I need to hear things. And
So not at home?
yes, of course,
So
yeah.
not at home, eh?
Yeah, well, you know, just depends. Anyhow, I don't want to say too much or get myself in trouble. Anyhow, with regards to the noise, yeah, there's a lot going on, and I want you to imagine the sound of a dentist drill magnified 100 times in audio decibels, because that's what's been going on. But yeah, they are moving around and along pretty quickly. And I've been told by the workers that the administration offices should be ready for occupancy by mid-December. So I'm going to hold Councillor Borneman to that. Anyhow, so just one meeting, basically report on Thursday evening, the 23rd of October. I attended the West Parry Sound District Museum Monthly Board meeting virtually. Housekeeping matters, of course, included accepting and improving financial reports for August and September. The museum's 2026 budget, which was presented in September, was officially approved. This month's ongoing review of the museum's policy, this time around the health and safety policy, was deemed to be up to date with no recommended changes required at this time. We had some discussion about tracking data to learn more about the visitors, including numbers and demographics, their interests as they pertain to the museum, what they would like to see, and such. Staff has found that the best way to collect this information is to keep it as simple as possible. And I just made it back into town on time today to for the group picture with regards to the raising of the poppy flag. And as Councillor Borneman mentioned, yes, it's imperative and very, very important to wear your poppy, and regardless of the weather. As he said, the people that we're honoring did not have that choice. One final thing, the skies are fairly clear tonight. Get out there and take a look at that big, bright moon. It's beautiful. And that's my report.
Thank you. Counselor Belaski.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be fairly short. On October the 22nd, I attended a Zoom meeting on behalf of the Belvedere. Kind of business as usual. I got a bit of an update on the new build. Councilor Borman was gracious enough to take some photographs and pass them on. It is coming along fairly good. And this morning I attended the poppy flag raising at the town office, and that's my report.
Good. Counselor Ashford.
I too have no report, but I did want to mention some of the great work that's been going on at the library. Just tonight was a Cozy Tales stories, and they're just kind of killing it at the library right now. It's just great. The haunted house was amazing before the witches walk, and you know, all my kids went through it. They complained how scary it was, and then as soon as we got outside, they went right back in and went for another run. So it was just kind of a wonderful stuff going on at that library. You know, so it's it seems strange, but that's one thing my kids often ask is if they've been good and they got all their chores done. We say, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to McDonald's? Do you want to go over to the bowling alley? And they say, let's go to the library. So, you know, our library is doing great when those kind of things are happening.
Yep.
Thank you.
Counselor Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and the public. I attended the West Parry Sound OPP Detachment Board meeting, basically for offenses, the impaired driving and drugs are the issues that are of concern in the area. And the OPP are developing a strategic plan for the next few years. I participated in the survey, as I understand all the other members have, so that we can provide input how we feel the OPP can best serve the whole area. I also attended the Small Business Week in the morning seminar, and I found that very interesting. It was on AI, so that was very helpful to me, how it can be a positive in businesses and how it really is developing. So I think to some extent, we also have to think about not worrying so much that we feel the whole world is being taken over next week with AI. I think it's something that's going to have to be refined, but certainly it's something that we have to be aware of and see what we can embrace. I did dress up and went on the Witches Walk. That was an interesting experience, and I do admit that I went into the library to see the haunted tunnel that they had done there, and I think the library does a fine job in getting the community involved. I understand there was close to 500 little people that were partaking of that experience. And I also, just for my own sake, of course, because I do enjoy Halloween at my own home. On Friday, I had 172 kids because I count them. So needless to say, I know a few of them were enjoying themselves, and it's always nice to see the outfits and to see all the joy. And today, I also attended the raising of the poppy flag at the town office. And I too would say it's so important that we remember Remembrance Day and do our best in whatever shape or form that we can be supportive of it, because certainly without that happening, we may not all be sitting here, let alone, communicating the way we are. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council staff and public, October 23rd at 9 a.m. I attended Small Business Week celebration and brought greetings from council, and that was held at the Stocky Center. I thought there was a great turnout for the event and a strong representation of vendors. This year's theme was connection and collaboration, and I'd like to thank the Parry Sound Area Business Support Network for organizing the event. October 23rd at 7 p.m. I attended the Parry Sound District EMS Advisory Committee meeting, which was held in person in Whitestone Community Center. An update was given on service operation, future accommodations, and the budget was recommended to be sent to council, and that's on the agenda tonight. October 25th, there were two Halloween events. One was at the Jolly Roger, which was a fundraiser for Harvest Share, and people were having a great time, and I want to thank the organizers for putting on that event. And the second was the Witches Walk, which was also a fundraiser for Harvest Share. And there had to be somewhere between 300 and 400 people attend this event. And thank you to the DBA, all the organizers, for putting on the event. And this took a fair bit of coordination with volunteers, the OPP, and our fire department, so their contribution is greatly appreciated. And Chief Thompson had a really, really cool wizard costume on that I did not recognize him at first. I will tell you, it was very good. So kudos to the costume designer on that one. October 30th, I was part of a panel speaking at the Ontario Nonprofit Housing Association Conference in Toronto. The session was on leveraging assets in the nonprofit housing sector, and attendance for the conference was really, really good. Today it was at 10 a.m. was the poppy flag raising. It was really good to see the number of people out today to support raising the flag. And anyone that can get to a Remembrance Day service or event, please do so. It's extremely important. And that's my report. First item is the land ambulance budget. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that council approve the 2026 district land ambulance budget in the total amount of $13,687,699, including capital expenditures of $595,000 from the EMS capital reserve. Chief, do you want to give an overview for the public so that they know what we're dealing with this year, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council. It's a challenging year for the EMS budget. The amount requested does require a 6.5% increase to the levy. This was discussed at the EMS committee, and it does come forward as a recommendation of the EMS committee. The reason for the high number, this does not include any service enhancements. So this is putting the exact number of hours into service with operational resources as was in place in 2025. There's primarily two reasons for the significant increase. The first is the arbitrated, the medics arbitrated salary increases. In 2025, that included a 5% increase. We had not anticipated that high of an increase, and funds were not accrued to the extent that would be required to cover the 5%. So there's a catch up in 2026 that's required to get it to the mark that the arbitrator awarded. The arbitrator's award is not up for discussion. It is final and and that's what we move forward with. The second aspect of the budget that needed to be that helps increase the levy is TUMO funding as expected in 2025 did not come through to the same extent. So TUMO funding is the 100% funding that we receive for townships without organization. So the province does fund those areas at 100% as compared to the 50-50% funding that is provided for the municipalities. So there's an adjustment in this year's budget for the revenues slightly lower in that area of the budget. Between those two things, it requires a 6.5% budget increase. A great deal of time was spent going through the budget on a line-by-line basis. We compared 2024 full year actuals as well as 2025 partial year actuals, 3/4 year actuals, based upon what we expected from budget, and adjusted many different budget lines, both in the contract to the West Parry Sound Health Center, as well as in the overall budget that takes into account CPLTC funding, as well as the town's portion of the expenses, which includes base leases, money for ambulances, equipment, all those sorts of things. Primarily, the EMS budget is made up of wages. Over 90% of the budget is wages. And if we're going to maintain the same number of resources on the ground and provide the same level of service, the increases are necessary. There was no desire from staff to make any recommendation to decrease services, nor was there any appetite from the EMS Advisory Committee that be a course of action to try to lower the levy increase. So although not ideal, it is a budget that is going to maintain services and continue on with the programs that we have been providing in 2025 and previously.
Councillor Borneman. So Chief Thompson, I'm not sure if I totally understood what you were talking about with respect to unorganized townships. Are the province funding at a lower than 100% rate, or are the costs accrued in those areas less than previously thought?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a budgetary exercise. When we're budgeting, we're making a educated guess on what the province is going to fund for the unorganized areas. The funding they give us is determined upon what we expend through the district as a whole, and then compare that to the number of dwellings that are inside the unorganized areas.
So it's on a prorated basis, basically.
No, I wouldn't exactly say it's on a prorated basis. It's on a proportional basis.
Okay.
Based upon housing counts. Now, not every municipality, and when I say municipality, I mean district municipality, bases their TUMO funding on the same method. The province does allow us to make proposals, and the most beneficial way for the district of Parry Sound to do it is based upon the household formula, which we're suggesting. Some district municipalities do it based upon call volumes.
Okay.
So there are multiple ways to assess TUMO funding. Of course, TUMO funding is really only allocated in the northern municipalities. There are not municipalities without municipal organization in the southern parts of the province. So it is a budgetary exercise, and last year we didn't get it quite right. Now, it's a complicated system because what's not funded through the 100% funding for TUMO is therefore shifted to the 50-50 50% funding. So even when there's a shortfall, the province is still picking up 50% of that shortfall because it then falls into the 50% funding envelope. It becomes very convoluted in the process, and last year we simply overestimated what the CUMO funding was going to be. That was adjusted this year.
Good. So I'm not sure if this one's for you or for Miss, for Stephanie. The punchline here says that 6.5% is generally accurate, but the town's portion, I gather, may shift up or down from that depending on the new weighted assessment formula that's hoped to be out sooner or later.
Yes, the town's portion could shift up or down based on their proportion of weighted assessment. But if that were to remain the same, the impact to the town would be close to 21,000, so less than 0.2% altogether. So it would be pretty close to that regardless. Okay.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor McDonald. Council hereby approves consent application B25-01 at 37 Parry Sound Road in order to facilitate a lot addition in favor of the adjacent parcel to the east of the subject land, subject to the conditions outlined in Schedule A. Anything? Councillor McCann?
We heard Mr. Rand mention the conditions. If this is passed tonight, does that mean these conditions have already been met, or is it pending? Or is approval pending that the conditions are met?
Through your worship, the way that consent applications work is that the decision made by council would be considered a provisional consent, and final consent is not given until all of those conditions have been met.
Great, thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Bileski and seconded by Councillor Keith. The council approved the 2025 third quarter progress report on the town's key performance objectives, KPOs, as set out in Schedule A. Mr. Harris, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Mr. Mayor, just on the statistics page, I wouldn't mind just highlighting a couple of things that I think would be important for council and the public to be aware of. We've started tracking different things back in 2020 on a quarterly basis. And one of the things that's been important to council along the way is the number of new residential units that are for building permits are issued. So if there's a 10-unit building, residential unit building, that counts as 10 in these statistics, not one, because there might only be one building permit issued. So for 2025 to date, there's been 31 residential units created. That means building permits have been issued. So when someone gets building permits, it means construction is likely imminent and is probably underway by now. We still have another quarter to go. Interesting that since we started tracking these statistics in 2020, up to and including the 31 for this year, there's been 278 new residential units approved, and the majority would have been built in operational or in occupancy now. We've looked at other statistics, and those residential units are a mix of townhomes, apartments, and condos, a few single-family homes, but it's a variety of housing types and housing forms. It's not just condos or not just apartments. So, you know, rental is what is required in the town, and there's about a third of the units created were rental. The total construction value over that period of time of the value of the construction that's being created is 195 million. And that's important because that translates into additions to our assessment base when those properties are assessed and added to the tax roll. which is additional income to the town without raising taxes to existing residents. Something that we've added at the bottom of the page recently was the roads and sidewalks. We often get questions on, there's certainly roads, streets in town that are, not in great condition, but we try to prioritize what to work on. And so we've started tracking how much in terms of lane kilometers are we repairing and the cost of that, and also the meters of sidewalks and the cost of that, because it's another area where we often get people raising concerns. 2024, we just calculated the information for 2024, and in 2024, 7.7 kilometers, lane kilometers of roads at a cost of 1.1 million. And meters of sidewalks, 697 meters or 2,300 feet of sidewalks at a cost of 274,000. So it's something that we do every year. There's no information in this chart with respect to 2025. We've got to find a better way of reporting, because often when the work is done doesn't correspond when the invoices are received. And so the dollars don't always match up to the amount of work that's done. So we don't have the information in for the third quarter of 2025, but it'll be certainly there for the next quarter.
Okay, any questions? Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. Just looking at this one here regarding the retaining a tree specialist to make recommendations on what should be the focus to meet council's intended goal. Is the plan as well to kind of include the Downtown Business Association, maybe for feedback in that deliberation as well?
Through the mayor, as Mr. Kearns isn't here, I'll certainly bring that to his attention. We have had consultation with the DBA in the past, so I would expect that would continue.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I have a few questions. On line 33, under economic development, I'm wondering what the target date is for the college's strategic plan. I understand there's a process going on, but they must have some sort of a target date, do they?
Through the chair, Mr. Tom and I participated in that consultation that was to develop the strategic plan. At this point, I'm not aware that they've identified a date and a time when that would be released. I did have a chance to speak with the new administrator at the college at the Small Business Week at the Stocky Center, and they're actively looking at how they can implement it and how they take the feedback from the various focus groups and put it into courses and offerings at the college. But I can find out and let council know if they've got a targeted date for the releasing the strategic plan.
Thank you. I have another question, and that has to do with the quality of life. It's line 86. I know that a question was just asked about the tree canopy, but what I'm unclear about when I read the key performance indicators, it indicates that the planning department had reviewed an existing policy in 2018. And so I'm not clear, are they the lead for this further enhancement policy? And if not, who's the lead on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's a misinterpretation of the way that this has been reported. This is a Parks and Rec initiative. It is contained for our filing purposes within development planning, and that's what councilors seeing here. However, it's a Parks and Rec initiative.
So then I'm clear, it's Parks and Rec's responsibility. They're the lead on that area. Okay, thank you.
Through Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay, and the last one, thank you, is on line 126, and it has to do with under the category, I'm looking it up myself, on the category of organizational and excellence review. And I'm just going to find that so that I am very clear myself, but it's line 126. You just get that there. Thank you. Okay. In the key performance indicators, it indicates, of course, a review and update official plan, bylaws, policies, etc. And when it talks about the comments, basically it ends up that by June, wait a second. Yes, by January 25, as part of budget deliberation, it was determined that a full organizational wasn't reviewed, and so it indicates that matter is complete. However, I'm just wondering if really, because I understand it says it's complete, but I'm having some difficulty in thinking that the organizational review is necessarily still at the complete stage, because we look at strategies that were implemented if it hadn't been completed. But the bottom line is, I'm just really wondering if, for example, I'll look at the operations department, if really there isn't a need for us to re-examine, for staff to re-examine how that department overall operates, and if it could function even better. And I think about that because this year in May time, it started in May time when I was picking up litter, and that lasted for a few weeks. I started to observe what the work that goes on, for example, with the Rec and Leisure Department in that area. And it just seemed to me that this summer, with the number of tasks, with the revitalization of the playgrounds, the grass cutting, the brushing of trails, trying to keep the beaches pristine, possibly looking at lighting plans for the parks. It seems to me there is a lot going on besides removal, and we heard a comment tonight regarding graffiti in that one area that we were talking over by the fitness trail, etc. Removal of graffiti. I mean, there's quite a bit over there. It doesn't seem that's been able to be done. It just seems to me that department, from my observation, is really being spread. And I'm just wondering if really this isn't the time that we should be examining the possibility of reviewing the organizational structure of that operations department. And so I'm moving that we direct staff to, we move for council to direct staff to bring back recommendations on establishing an organizational review of the operations department, including a budget proposal for the 2026 budget. And I would add, the reason I'm bringing this comment up is I think that we're always trying to have even more quality experiences and being really efficient with how the operations of the town occurs. So that's my comment and what I have moved.
So we're going to wait till after we finish the KPOs, please. Okay.
That's fine.
Any further comments on Councillor Ashford?
I just wanted to highlight again how appreciative I am of the inclusion of the road repair kilometers and sidewalk repair kilometers, because it's the money is really important too. But getting that much work done in our town, I think, is really something that the staff should be applauded for in that, because when it's never your road, right? And I'm on Louisa Street a lot right now, and there's a spot where the whole family puts their hands up like it's a roller coaster, you know, because it's getting a little bumpy, you know. So like, it's never your road, and you're always sitting there going, man, oh man, is the roads not? No one even care about these roads. And then when it is your road, it takes forever and it's a very big inconvenience and it just is so annoying, right? So like you're in this spot where it just seems like it's lose-lose. But when you get it down on paper, on the amount of work that's being done and the amount of streets and sidewalks, to me, it really makes it a positive experience. Whether it's the time that you're riding on a bumpy road and it seems to be taking forever, or whether it's the time that your road's getting constructed and that seems to be taking forever. So I just really appreciate getting those numbers in there. And then as we kind of go forward and see, I can only imagine what the 2025 numbers are going to look like. So thank you very much.
Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Councillor Keith?
I am, as discussed a moment ago, I am moving that council direct staff to bring recommendations on establishing an organizational review of the operations department, including a budget proposal for the 2026 budget. And I bring that up again as I just think that that department is really spread with responsibilities and tasks. And I just wonder if really it can be done even better and more efficient so that we're utilizing our staff to the best of our ability. And I think the only way we're going to know that for sure is if we did have a review.
Okay, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Borneman? Question, Councillor Borneman?
Not sure that this is a question. Yeah, I think if we're gonna, I fully understand Councillor Keith's comments here, but I don't think it's restricted strictly to the operations department. I think when you look around what's going on in the community, the building, the development, and you see what's happened within town office over the past few years. We've added HR people, we've got economic development people, this, that, the other thing. There are pieces here and there, and we've been trying to attach them to areas that seem to make the most sense. I was down at the building department today, and I don't know how those guys are keeping up with all of the things that are, all of just the big projects that are ongoing, let alone the normal, whatever, 31 new residential inclusions this year. I don't know how they're keeping up with it. So if we're going to look at an organizational review and works, I'd say let's get a price for that and a price for the whole town operation. And because to me, it's probably going to be more economically feasible to do it all at once than to piecemeal it out.
I agree. Yeah. Is the mover okay with that?
I certainly am.
Okay, great. Councilor McCann?
Well, I respect what's being asked here. A couple of things. Are we asking just to put money in the budget to do this? Is there a timeline that we want to do this? I just figure staff is awfully busy right now. And is this not a project that we can, table for at least 6 months or so until the dust kind of settles? We've just heard about how much development is underway and the paperwork and the red tape.
I think we'd be contracting this out.
Yeah, this would be contracted.
Oh, is that right? Okay, well then, by all means.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. You got all that, Ms. Johnson? Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Keith and second by Councillor Boleski that pursuant to bylaw 2022-7275, section 3.1, council approves Schedule A as attached the 2026 schedule of regular and special council meetings of council. Any discussion? Councillor McCann?
Just a kind of a point of order question. So there's a new council starting in halfway through November, December. Is it appropriate that we would be voting on council dates for a new council? I mean, I know we've done that in the past, but I'm just putting it up there for discussion.
It's pretty much standard, so it's
Okay.
the way it is. Yeah. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Counselor Bielanski, second by Counselor Keith, whereas schools are an important part of the fabric of a community that extends beyond the physical classroom. And whereas 3 tennis courts were built in the early 1970s as a partnership between the Parry Sound Tennis Club and the former West Parry Sound District School Board on school property at Parry Sound High School. And whereas these tennis courts were funded outside of school board funding, and whereas these courts were used from the time of installation by Parry Sound High School students as part of their physical education classes and through the Parry Sound High School Tennis Club, as well as by members of the public through the Parry Sound Tennis Club. And whereas physical activity has many benefits for children and people of all ages, including improved academic performance, brain health, muscular fitness, greater range of motion, heart and lung health, cardiometabolic health, long-term health, bone strength, cognitive and social skills, and measures of healthy weight. And whereas these 3 tennis courts were removed by the Parry Sound School Board in 2023 as part of the new construction plan for the JK grade 12 school on site, and whereas the school board's removal of the above mentioned tennis courts resulted in tennis being removed from the high school physical education program and termination of the high school tennis team, and whereas students and the public should not be left with fewer services as a result of the new school, and whereas town council has received a petition from members of the public to replace the tennis courts, now therefore the council for the town of Parry Sound hereby requests the Near North District School Board replace on school board property the tennis courts, and that this resolution be copied to the Minister of Education, MPP Graydon Smith, Parents for Parry Sound, Community School Alliance, West Parry Sound municipalities, and First Nations in West Parry Sound. Discussion, Councilor McCann?
Well, this is a no-brainer. I certainly support this. The sad thing is, the necessity to bring this forward, should never have been rendered, because this is something the school board should have included in the plans from the get-go. For all of the things that were mentioned here in this, in this document here, there's every good reason why the school board should have planned for this from the get-go.
Anything further? All in favor? That's carried with none opposed. Moved by Councilor Bielanski and second by Councilor Keith. Council directs staff to request meetings at the upcoming Roma conference in January 2026 with A, Minister of Transportation to request completion of the 4-laning of the remaining 68 kilometers of Highway 69 between Parry Sound and Sudbury as soon as possible, and B, Minister of Natural Resources regarding 7 Bay Street being declared surplus. Any discussion? Councilor McCann?
No, I know that the wording says to Sudbury, but the 4-laning does pick up just below north, French River. I wonder if it sounds even a little bit more enticing to say that, because it's, in terms of kilometers that needs to be developed, it's not a whole lot really in the grand scheme.
This is just for us to give us, because we wanted authorization to make the delegations. That's all this is. The information will be compiled for the delegations when that happens.
Okay.
Councilor Ashford?
Can that information be shared with council when it becomes available?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Anything further? All in favor then? That's carried. Moved by Councilor Keith and seconded by Councilor Bielanski. Whereas treaties from the basis of a relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, treaties form the basis. Whereas treaties are legally binding agreements that set out rights, responsibilities, and relationships with treaty commitments and as valid today as they were when signed often many years ago. And whereas Treaties Recognition Week honors the importance of and promotes learning about treaties. And whereas the province of Ontario passed legislation in 2016 declaring the first week of November as Treaty Recognition Week. Now therefore the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound hereby proclaims the week of November 2nd to the 8th, 2025 as Treaties Recognition Week in the Town of Parry Sound. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Bielanski, whereas recent public responses to the town's asset management plan identify the high value placed on the town's parks and trails, and whereas noxious and invasive plant species diminish the natural beauty of these assets, now therefore Council directs staff to bring a report to Council with recommendations on how to permanently eradicate noxious and invasive species, including Japanese knotweed from the town's public parks and trails, with a budget estimate provided for the work. Discussion? Councillor Keith?
Yes, I would just add, the reason I had also asked that this be placed on the agenda is, again, over the years, it seems to me this concern regarding invasive plants has come forth, and there has been good intentions that it would be able to be addressed. But again, it seemed to me that there are so many tasks that are being performed at times by the department that it seems that that just wasn't happening. And it came to my attention after thinking about it more, is perhaps what we need is a consultant, a contract with somebody who's an expert in that field, because it seems at times I feel that sometimes we think that or we're expecting that our staff can basically address and tackle any issue, and they're going to be able to solve it themselves. But it's nice to be a generalist, but sometimes we need specialists.
Councillor Barnum?
Mr. Wren, in the absence of Mr. Cairns, I understood that you, Mr. Cairns, and I think maybe Mr. Bonanza, I'm not perfectly clear, but I understood that the three of you had met with folks from the biosphere with regards to this issue earlier in the summer, or perhaps the spring. Can you fill us in on that?
That is correct. Sorry, you're stretching my memory a little bit. We did meet with members of the biosphere to talk about potential for submission of there's grant opportunities for invasive species eradication and that sort of thing. It was left with the operations department. There is support from planning through the waterfront master plan for those types of things. That is, a number of recommendations are included in the waterfront master plan as well. So it's been left with them. We can try to get an update for council if that's needed. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering if we could drill down a little bit deeper in this, because as we mentioned earlier, that's, staff's resources are limited. Could maybe it be modified to maybe target some of the particular invasive species that we're trying to eradicate as opposed to just in general?
I know one of them definitely would be the Japanese knotweed, but I think again, the ability of the staff and the rec department to be able to advise of the specifics, and certainly, as mentioned, the Georges Bay Biosphere would be aware of the specific invasive species that we have in this community. So we certainly aren't talking about every invasive species in the world. We're talking about the ones that are prevalent in our community. And as indicated, I think the rec staff and biosphere would be familiar with what it is prevalent in our area.
Any further? All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that Council of the Town of Parry Sound hereby supports the Township of the Archipelago's Resolution 25159, which supports the planning of a 20th anniversary celebration for the West Parry Sound Geographic Network, WPSGN, to be held on November 19th, 2025. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Borneman?
Mr. Mayor, on further consideration, I'm wondering if we could back up to the Roma delegations. I think, the issue with respect to school and Near North District School Board has been a hot topic button, and I think it'd be a missed opportunity if we don't include meeting with the minister with regards to the future of the Near North Board and somehow providing adequate representation from this community in
agree.
the decision-making process of education in West Parry Sound.
I don't think we need to back up. I think maybe what we'll do is just direction that that be added to whatever resolution number that was. Is that good? Okay, seconder for that, Councillor Ashford. All in favor of that? That's carried. So I think we're good on that. Thank you. Yep. Moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Borman, that bylaw number 2025-7542 being a bylaw to stop up and close a portion of the original road allowance being part of Gibson Street, formerly Margaret Street, and part of Mary Street, Plan 2, being designated as Part 1 and 2, Plan 42R 22785 be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion on this one? All in favor then? That's carried. Yes, Councillor McCann?
Can I just, if, make just a point? I should have said this during the discussion with the geographic network. I just wanted to congratulate the people who have worked on this project over the years. It's a great tool. And I think that to be congratulated on the time and effort that went into this, and it's worth celebrating.
Yep. Okay, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor McCann, that bylaw number 2025-7543 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So prior to adjourning, nominations are now open for the 2025 Order of Parry Sound. All residents and contributors to the town of Parry Sound are eligible for the Order of Parry Sound, our community's highest honor for achievement, awarded annually to someone who's made a difference in our community. The motto for the Order of Parry Sound is "They desire a better community." Recipients since the order started in 2001 have enriched the lives and others of our community. Complete and submit a hard copy or email the nomination form and supporting documentation in confidence by Monday, December the 8th at 4 p.m. Nominations are kept confidential, and I know that because they don't ever tell me anything. And nominations, again, are kept confidential. Some restrictions apply. Pick up nomination forms and details on the town's website or at the municipal office reception. And the 2025 order will be awarded at the mayor's levy on Sunday, January 4th, 2026 at the Stocky Center. Now, the next meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled for Tuesday, November the 18th at 7 p.m. The meeting will be held at the Town of Parry Sound Council Chambers at 52 Seguin Street, entrance via Gibson Street, be live streamed and recorded. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Council meetings schedule, notices of special council meetings, complete agendas and minutes and instructions on accessing live streamed and recorded council meetings are all posted on the town's website. Go to www.parrysound.ca, use the search bar. Thank you.